March quarter results will be what they will be, but as Surendra said, there's more and more focus likely to be about what management's guide us for years and quarters going forward. I think as far as the March quarter is concerned, we expect a meaningful decline in slippages sequentially because the December quarter had the spillover effect of moratorium, and we also had restructuring. So if you take total stress as slippage plus restructuring, we should see a fair bit of decline. So for our coverage for private sector banks, for instance, we expect slippages to decline from 3.9% last quarter annualized to about 2.5% in the March quarter. But we expect banks to remain conservative on provision, and the decline in provisions may not be in sync with the decline in slippages, because generally managements want to exit FY21 with a much larger cushion on provisions. And the question is the developments of the last 3 weeks, how much does change that estimate of the cushion, right? The provision cushion which banks want to build in, how much do they want to take it to their bottom line for FY21, or how much do they want to budget? I think that's something which people will want to look forward to. On your part on going forward, I think one big expectation was that sequentially economic momentum will continue to improve. And towards second half of this year, we should start focusing on growth, right? Now, do we need to revisit that thesis is something which we need to wait and see. We are still in early days. I mean, there are sporadic lockdowns, but nothing compared to what we had in March, April, and May last year. So to that extent, I'm a bit more optimistic on asset quality. I don't think this should necessarily be an asset quality issue, but growth is a different matter. We'll have to wait and see how economic activity actually pans out.
Yeah, no, and in fact, thanks for pointing that out, Manish. Very important point. Can we talk about what do you expect the commentary from some of the larger ones to be like? Let's say HDFC Bank, right, comes out this Saturday, and I maybe it is a bit underwhelming for a few people, the updates that they gave for the quarter. I don't know how you read into them, and also just a follow up on that, Manish, is what happens to the bank as a stock over the course of the next 3-4 quarters, considering that they are not able to get a handle on their tech issues, stroke resolution on the credit card piece, and others are gaining at that expense.
Yeah. So first on the March quarter numbers, full year loan growth was at 14%, which is a tad lower than what people are used to expecting from HDFC Bank. But it was more or less in line with our expectation because they were a large base of March last year. What we've been focusing on throughout the year is sequential growth, and there HDFC Bank is growing at 4.5% quarter on quarter, which for a bank for that balance sheet size is pretty healthy. Even at 14%, we are growing at more than 2x the banking system. And that for the largest private sector bank in the country, I think is a pretty healthy pace. What I was encouraged with from the pre-quarter filing is the CASA growth. CASA growth sequentially was 12%, YOY 27%. Now that really is the ammunition. So they have the capital, they have the deposits. If and when the growth does come back, it would be margin accretive given that most of the liabilities are coming from CASA. So I think barring the new credit card issuance, rest of the part of the businesses seem to be doing fine. On your question, yes, that is a very big overhang and concern for the stock as to what happens out of this IT audit that RBI has initiated. The report is not yet out. We'll have to wait and see. But for the last 4 odd months, their business on the card side is restricted. But I think rest of the business for HDFC Bank is doing well. So as far as earnings is concerned, I don't think earnings will disappoint. But clarity on this RBI IT audit is something which I'm sure investors will look forward to.
Okay. Manish, a follow-up on the other banks and what within the universe looks attractive or appealing to you based on the earnings growth or some other factors. And let's just stick to banks. I'll come back to you for NBFCs, but purely from a banking perspective, what and why?
Yeah, so I think this is a unique situation for FY22 where we might see the larger private sector banks grow faster than some of the mid-sized private sector banks, because the larger private sector banks have good amount of deposit franchise at low cost. Capital today is not an issue for most of the banks. Almost all banks, large and small, have good amount of capital. But the liability franchise for the larger banks is much better. If you see the deposit rates which are being offered on 1-year TD, it is the lowest that it has been on a very long time, right? So you might see the larger private sector banks, the top 3-4 of them, doing faster than the mid-sized one, because mid-sized ones would want to focus on improving on the retail liability franchise and a bit more cautious on growth. Now, if you see the segments which will drive growth, it will largely be retail, to some extent services. Mid-corporate, most banks still remain quite conservative outside of the government guarantee scheme, which is the ECLGS. I think disbursements in mid-corporate and SME outside of ECLGS will remain soft. Large corporate is totally a domain of larger banks because they have a cost of funds advantage. So we think the larger banks, HDFC, ICICI, and the likes should grow faster this year, FY22, versus some of the mid-sized banks.
And therefore, those would be top of your pecking order, Manish?
Yeah, so our preferred top 2 picks in the sector are ICICI and IndusInd. IndusInd is a mixture of valuation and growth outlook, and ICICI purely on the business growth.